Hi, welcome to Heather's Gluten-Free Adventures. So I had some labs done and I'm still really high in some of my levels, and my doctor wants me to limit all grains. To omit all grains, and just for about 4 to 6 weeks. And then I'm going to start introducing the grains one at a time, do that elimination type thing, just to determine what's still causing me problems. And to limit my dairy. And I don't know what I was doing the other day. I was thinking, I wanted some bread type of stuff, and I can't really, most of my even my gluten-free breads that I've been working on have rice and sorghum and all those things in it. So I'm like, what am I going to do for bread? And then it dawned on me, I did keto for like a year, and my mom still does keto, and we did chaffles all the time. And so I was making some chaffles, and then I realized, whoops, I'm supposed to be limiting my dairy, and chaffles are just cheese and egg, basically. And so I'm brainstorming, and I'm like, well, a waffle would work, but I just can't use a grain. And so I came up with an idea. First of all, I have cassava flour. And there's a difference between cassava flour and tapioca starch. Tapioca starch, they kind of extract the starch from the cassava root, and then they dehydrate that, or they settle it, dehydrate. Anyway, there's a process for that. It's a little more higher processed than cassava root is just shredded, ground, whatever, dehydrated, and then ground into a flour. And so that is a little bit different than tapioca starch. So you want to make sure, I personally like to use less processed things, so the cassava flour was kind of the next thing on my list to try. And so I'm gonna try doing just a cassava flour waffle first, because I want to determine what the texture of it is going to be. But I've already made some using pumpkin powder, and I know pumpkin powder is very absorbent, and I used to use zucchini powder to make keto waffles that were higher in vegetables. So this is freeze-dried pumpkin that I freeze-dried, and then I powdered it, and I have more downstairs in my storage, and I have several pumpkins that I still have to get done. I have 3 left, and it's mid-February. Matter of fact, it's Valentine's Day today, and so happy Valentine's Day. So I've had them since October, November-ish. So I love squash. Winter squash is amazing. The staying power, or the storage power of them, very good thing to have in your food storage. So the first thing I want to try, though, I have these little Dash mini waffle irons that I've got heating up. I'm sure you could use any kind of a waffle iron. I think the Belgian waffle iron might be a little too thick to make little sandwich type things. Here's my little cast iron one, and it has, it's kind of a thinner waffle. It's not like your thick Belgian waffle. Love this thing. It is a Rome brand, and I just got it I think I got it from Amazon several years ago, probably about 10 years ago or more. So I'm just gonna point you down, and I'm gonna start with making just a plain old cassava flour. I wanna see what the difference in texture is, and I'll share that with you too. You're gonna come with me for this. Okay, so here I've got a couple eggs. One is definitely smaller than the other. I'm going to use this one for the cassava flour, because the other one, the pumpkin powder, is super absorbent, and so is cassava flour, and so is psyllium husk. And so I'm going to use a smaller one for this one. I'll just make it slightly smaller. I'm going to start with egg. I'm going to add my salt. I'm just doing like a little pinch of salt. I'm not going to add any flavoring to this. The reason being is because I want to use this as a sandwich, or as like peanut butter and jelly toast, or something along those lines. I don't want to use it for a waffle. I know it's going to look like a waffle, but these little dashes make the cutest sandwich sized bread. I want to use it for like burger buns. So that's what I'm looking for here, not necessarily for a waffle. To this, I'm going to add a pinch, and it's so cute. I have this cute little, just a pinch little spoon, so I'm going to use that, of baking soda. I melted some coconut oil. This is a 1/4 cup scoop. You can use any kind of oil you want. I've got lard. I could have melted some lard. I've got avocado oil. I've got extra virgin olive oil. I will tell you though, extra virgin olive oil definitely has a flavor. If you're not opposed to that flavor, go ahead and use it. I personally don't care for that flavor, especially in my bread. Well, I guess if you're doing something towards the Italian side, using some pesto, you wouldn't even notice. So for this cassava one, I'm just going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of psyllium husk, and make sure you whisk that in really good. I'm wondering if I should just use a full teaspoon. I'm going to stick with a 1/2 teaspoon to start though, because some interesting stuff, this psyllium husk. For the cassava flour, I'm going to use, I thought about using just I think I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons. It's my 1/8 cup or 2 tablespoon measuring spoon, cup spoon. And I'm gonna call that good. Because I'm doing a trial, I don't want to make this too big of a batch. These are hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and they are non-stick, so I don't usually use the spray unless I absolutely have to. See, I know these are going to puff up quite a bit, so I just put enough to make a layer on it. And we'll let these go for about 4 minutes. So I have it in this little pan because you can see this one is drooling, and I would rather it drool into this pan that I can take these out and clean it than all over my counter. There's no sweetener in here at all, so they're not going to get super browned. You'll see when I put the pumpkin powder in, they're going to get really browned. I'm going to go ahead and call them done. They're hot. Okay, so for this next one, and I'm going to tell you right now, I think these probably could have just used 2 tablespoons of coconut oil instead of 4. It is a smaller batch, and I didn't adjust the oil accordingly, and I should have. For this next one, we're going to use another egg. And this one I am going to use a 1/4 cup of oil because it'll have more stuff in it. All right, 1/4 cup of oil. It's not really hot. It's coconut oil is a 76-degree oil, which means it turns to liquid at 76 degrees. So it doesn't have to be boiling hot. It just has to be warmed up enough to where it turns to a liquid. And it's always better to measure it in liquid form than solid form, from what I understand. Don't know. I know that I had more than enough in there, so I'm going to add a pinch of salt. I'm going to add a pinch of baking soda. That mixed up really good. I'm going to add into this one a teaspoon of psyllium husk, because I will be adding more product to this, almost double. The psyllium husk, from what I understand, is kind of that binder that makes it feel more like bread. So I'm becoming very familiar with it as I use it more and more and more. Still not an expert, but becoming more familiar. Another good way to add the psyllium husk is to add it to the flours and mix it in really good and then do this, but I'm not worried about the little clumps. So of the pumpkin powder, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of that. And this is just freeze-dried and then ground pumpkin powder that I did in October of this last year. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of that. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of cassava flour and 2 tablespoons of water. You could also add 2 tablespoons of milk of choice if you want to. So the pumpkin powder is going to add a sweetness to it, not a big sweetness, just a hint of sweetness. And it's going to make it just adding some nutritional value. I'm going to add another 2 tablespoons of water. And now, depending on how thin you like yours to be, I don't mind it being this thick. I'm just going to throw it on there and let it cook. And I'm going to use my 2 tablespoon measuring spoon. That may not be enough. We'll see. Give it about 4 minutes and we'll be back. So while our waffles are cooking, and they started out being chaffles in my brain, so I might bounce back and forth between chaffle and waffle. Really, they're just a waffle. They're a grain-free waffle. Pumpkin powder. I have cooked the pumpkin, and then I have dehydrated it or I have freeze-dried it. They both get great results. If it's something that you're not interested in doing, I think you might be able to get it on Amazon. I haven't really looked. If not, I'm kind of thinking, I'm not going to open that can of worms yet. I'm thinking someday I may start processing these and figuring out how to sell them. I don't know what kind of laws and rules there are to that stuff, so that might be something in my future though, because I know that this is odd. This is not something that's in everybody's pantry, and I don't know what you would do without it. I've used zucchini flour. Zucchini flour gets really good results, and I've done that with dehydrated zucchini, and then I just blenderized it to a powder. I'm not sure what else you could use. I haven't tried anything else, but I mean, it's always worth a shot. I just know that pumpkin is super absorbent and it works great as a flour. So these are not really steaming anymore, and they're looking pretty good. I'm going to give them just a little bit longer because they are still a little soft, and it looks like I did need to put just a little bit more than 2 tablespoons in there. Okay, and these, see, they got just a little bit more browned than the cassava root ones. Cassava flour. Let's try adding just a little bit more than 2 tablespoons. Let's do like that heaping 2 tablespoons. I bet you that's going to be too much. So one of the things you could do with these is you could add your pumpkin pie spice to it, or apple pie spice. Just add cinnamon. You could add a little bit of maple syrup to them. That will make them a little darker. I don't like to add sweetener to it, but you could make it like a waffle and throw on some butter and some syrup. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with these. So what I did here is I added equal parts cassava to pumpkin powder, and then I added the baking soda and the psyllium husk to this, so that all I have to do is take a 1/4 cup of the mix to a 1/4 cup of water or milk, add 1 egg, 2 tablespoons of the oil of choice, and then I have my waffle mix already done. I don't remember how much I did of what. So this is what I want to do with these. I'm going to take my 2 larger ones. I'm going to take these 2 that are about the same size because I want them as a sandwich. They're almost cool enough. And I'm going to add, I don't have any homemade mayonnaise right now, and these were on sale, so I grabbed them from Costco. They have really good clean ingredients. And I'm gonna mayonnaise. You don't have to use mayonnaise if you don't want. This is just how I like my sandwiches. I'm just gonna make a sandwich, and I'm gonna make my favorite kind of sandwich and stuff I have on hand. Arugula is one of my very favorite greens, especially on a sandwich, and I'm going to pile that on there. So really gets a dose of greens. And now here I'm getting greens and pumpkin. I'm gonna take some of this ham. I like this ham because it's uncured. So there's no nitrates or nitrites in it. There's nothing really awful in it. There's dextrose. There's a few things that are not good for you. I'm not a big ham fan, but that's what we have on hand right now. I don't have any chicken breast cooked or turkey breast or anything like that, so ham it is. My favorite cheese, Havarti. I love Havarti. So he does not say to omit dairy. He just says to reduce, to limit dairy. So I do cut out a lot of it, or have them, which is hard because I love my dairy. A little bit of mustard. I've tried these with peanut butter and jelly on them as well, and they kind of taste like peanut butter and jelly toast. You know, when you can't have bread, that is a very good substitute. I'm not one that likes to do a lot of substituting, but this, sometimes you just gotta have a sandwich, and I love sandwiches. So, there is, see how bready that looks? Okay, so that's it. That's my 2 different, and I kind of want to taste this. I've not made one with just cassava flour. It tastes very baking soda-ish. I think I may have gotten a little too much baking soda, or the cassava root has no flavor. But it's kind of yummy. Interesting. I think next time I would try the full 1/4 cup of cassava. Did I do that? The texture is nice. I'm trying to think, almost cookie-like. I could do that. I would do that just plain with cassava flour. Maybe adjust the oil a little bit down. Maybe adjust, I like that baking soda flavor. Kind of reminds me of soda bread. I like soda bread. But yeah, see, there's a lot of oil in that, so I would definitely reduce the oil next time. But my sandwich here, it's gonna be great. And then taking it and just putting peanut butter and jelly on it, it's like peanut butter and jelly toast. I think I already told you that. So thank you for joining me on this adventure of Heather's Gluten-Free Adventures. I'm very excited about my little sandwich here. I'm thinking about making them when I'm doing burgers. Like if I want to do a burger bun, they're fast, they're easy, and it doesn't take a lot of crazy ingredients that don't. So, okay, let me rephrase this. Going into the gluten-free stuff is changing the ingredients that I have on hand. And because I very avidly, and because I'm very, because Providence is one of my, or Providency, how do you say that? Is one of my values. I value being prepared, and I value having food storage. Because that is a big value for me, I buy this stuff in bulk. So I can leave, I don't know if I can. I got, Azure Standard is where I got a lot of the products that I bought, like the cassava flour, the pumpkin powder. I will look and see if I can find pumpkin powder somewhere for a reasonable price. If I can find it, I'll leave a link. And thank you for joining me on this adventure. Have a great day.